got a bad nose job and you're wondering what you do now, you're probably thinking that your life is over and there's no coming back from it. And that's partially true. There is no changing what happened. You now have to go on a completely new path. You're going to have to go to countless doctors and surgeons and reviewing countless surgeons trying to find the one that can help you. You're going to go talking to people and you're going to spend hundreds of hours trying to fix this problem. You're going to probably have a dramatic change in your social life, and you might have to change your career path. So things are going to be very different, and a lot of things are probably going to have to change your direction of your life. So in that sense, yeah, it is big and it's tragic. You have to quit your job for a little while. I know that most people who have gone through this situation have had to do that, but you don't want to stop going out in public or seeing people. One of the things that might be frustratingly annoying is that you discover that most people don't even know and can't even see the change because they don't know what you used to look like. And you realize that how few people are even paying attention to your face at all. And that's a whole new kind of revelation that you might want to get comfortable with. But that doesn't take anything away from the fact that it really does matter in a lot of big ways. But a lot of people are just completely oblivious, and you'll discover that as well. That there's a huge section of people in the world who just don't care about other people. I had my bad nose job about 13 years ago. I'm 40. I had the bad nose job at 27. I've since had 4 surgeries to try and fix it. I'm part of several groups that have helped me find doctors and try and get through it. Emotionally supportive. At first, for the first 7 or 8 years, it was just me, but I did eventually reach out and try to find more of a community, and that helps a lot. I go on Instagram, find people on Instagram. There's a lot of people who are dealing with bad plastic surgery stories on Instagram. It is definitely not an above ground community. As you know, there's the doctors remove most of the reviews online. Bad negative reviews, bad negative websites get removed, get pulled down. Doctors sue patients who try and say bad things about them. So it is difficult to find the truth. The plastic surgery industry is out of control, and now you know that. I think only 56% of men are happy with their surgeries, and it's higher for women, but it's definitely not what the doctor implies that the satisfaction rate is. You can see my nose is very lopsided now, and that's after several surgeries to try and fix that. So you're probably in shock now. You're looking in the mirror, you don't recognize yourself, you have no idea how to fix it. The doctor is telling you need to wait a year. That's partially because they want to cover their butts legally, because that's the statute of limitations for you being able to sue is 1 year. So that is exactly why they say that it will take 1 year. You also still have to heal, so no one will operate on you for a year. So whatever you look like now is what you got to walk around with for a year. It's shameful. You don't want people to look at you. You want to scream at people and tell them that this is not you. This is not your face. It's not the real you. Um, People think that when you go to a plastic surgeon, that you ask for something like a haircut, and you ask for something and they give it to you, but this is not true. They can only give you what the surgery is capable of. So you don't get what you want. You get what they can do, and a lot of times that's up to the doctor, up to their opinion, up to their visual opinion, up to their what they're capable of, their skill level. So you get what you get, and then you can't change it. And the doctors are not magicians, and they're not wizards. They are very limited to what they can do, and they overpromise a lot. And and there's a lot more unhappy people out there than anybody realizes. If you go and look up these communities on Instagram, and go find them on forums on the internet and the shady places on the internet, you'll find the communities. But the doctors do their best to try and hide them, and the plastic surgeons basically have a blank check to get away with anything they want legally. They can do virtually anything they want to their patients, and there's no repercussions. So the doctors of the plastic surgery industry are really taking advantage of people right now and ruining a lot of lives and running over a lot of lives and changing people's lives dramatically, in a way that almost completely destroys and derails people's lives, but it's almost completely swept under the carpet as well. And this might have just happened to you, and you're realizing this, and you didn't know this was something that existed in the world, that people were being destroyed in this way, but now you do. And you will also find that it is being hidden mostly. So what can you do now? Well, your life is not over. I'm still here. I had to change my career trajectory dramatically. So, originally right afterwards, my nose looked even worse. I mean, now it's passable as a regular nose, but right after my surgery, it was a point, like a Michael Jackson point, almost completely collapsed. And so there is hope to get closer to normal, to find a good doctor to help repair the damage. It will take a lot of time. You have to do a lot of research, and you want to be very careful. You want to have as few surgeries as possible. You want to talk to a ton of doctors, talk to a ton of patients, and find out who they recommend. One that I thought looked good is Garrett Griffin in Minnesota, helped a friend of mine. But there's just, you really need to be careful, because a lot of the famous doctors and the ones who are most high profile really are in an assembly line and really don't care, and they have no accountability. So you might be better off with smaller doctors, smaller time doctors who are doing things more because they want to help patients and less for notoriety. And you definitely want to get those other opinions from other patients. So, I mean, the best thing you can do, especially if you just had a bad surgery, is to not freak out, is to realize that there is hope, and that you're still you. Primarily, that you're still you. You have a different face, maybe, and what people see is not what they used to see. You feel like you're not yourself, but underneath, you're going to discover that there is something under your face. There is a you, and it's still there underneath with this, underneath this condition that you're currently in. The tragedy is that maybe you wanted to be an actor or a model or do something with your face or do something visual, be seen. I mean, most people do. Most people who are getting plastic surgery care about the way they look. So it is a huge, dramatic issue to suddenly have that part of your life taken from you. But there are all sorts of ways you can still enjoy yourself and you can still explore life. You just kind of have to put a lot of things on the back burner. And if you really want to make a difference, now that you know about what's going on with plastic surgery, you can get into the groups of people who have the same problem. Because this isn't just your problem. There are a lot of people with this problem. This is a huge issue. It's a global issue. There's people's lives being destroyed all over the planet from bad doctors and bad plastic surgeons with a blank check to destroy people's lives. And you know, we could do something more about this legally. We could hold more doctors accountable. That's something that you could help with. But also focusing on how to get back to where you need to be immediately. Start talking to doctors, start talking to patients, start finding other patients and groups that can give you advice. Try not to be in it alone, because that was the hardest for me, was being in it alone. And as a man, getting a plastic surgery felt even more alone, because it's not something you want to tell other people about. But because it was so obvious, it was that painful, that I almost couldn't avoid mentioning it to people, because eventually people would want to know. So I really highly recommend talking to people about it as fast as you can, as if you can, and it is the best thing you can do. And start carefully trying to figure out how to get where you need to be, because that is the thing that kept me going, and of all the people I've talked to, that is one of the things that keeps them going the most, is hope that they can find a better ground and some place where they're happy. You might realize now that perfection is, for your nose at least, is never going to get to where you want it to be. It might be a dream that you have to let go of. But normalcy might be something that you can still attain, and then realize that you've been lied to. You've been lied to about plastic surgery. You've been lied to by doctors. You've been lied to by celebrities. You have fallen victim to an enormous scam, and it's not your fault that you believe the propaganda and the commercials and the websites and the doctors. It's not your fault that you believed what everybody said. Now you're in this situation and you know the truth, so you can be more public about that as well, and realize that there are a lot of other people that fell for it, and it's easy to do, even if you're a very capable, responsible, intelligent person. Some of the best people, some of the most successful and capable people fall for the same scam, because these plastic surgeons are predators, and predators at a very high level, and they're all working in collusion to keep this secret, that plastic surgery is not a silver bullet, and it is not a solved science. It is very risky. Many things are not possible that they say are possible. The technology is not advanced at all. And you can look at my other video about what is possible with nose jobs and what is not possible with nose jobs. And not everything is possible. There are only a few procedures, and those procedures produce the similar results no matter what. Noses are not clay that get shaped. There are several procedures that can be done, and your nose will look like whatever it looks like with that procedure done to it. And those procedures are primitive. We do not have advanced plastic surgery of the nose. It is simply not true. And the damage that's done builds up over time. So those things you have to realize. Um, and it's very unfortunate. There are good doctors out there, and they're getting better, and the revision surgeries are getting better, um, but there are no perfect nose jobs. Um, Noses don't look natural after they've been worked on. There's the ability of a plastic surgeon to make a natural nose is just something that we don't have yet as a civilization, and that's something you might start to realize. So if you're looking for a natural nose, um, you've been lied to. And hopefully we get better at making natural looking noses. Maybe you can, in the future, you can get a revision that looks something like a natural nose again. Um, but the shape of nose tips, giving them the proper angles rather than just round, or like pinky shapes, which is what most nose tips end up looking like these days. You have to find extremely skilled, advanced doctors in order to be capable of doing that, and to also realize that people don't want to look like monsters. And a lot of these plastic surgeons, they think their patients want to look like monsters, because there's a select group of people who do want to look like a Barbie doll or like a freak. And they think because those few people want it, that a lot of their customers might want it. Um, you have to be very clear, and especially the high profile doctors, that you don't want to look like that. And so they think that their patients are crazy, and you have to um, explicitly say you are not crazy, because they don't respect their patients. They think their patients are crazy, and they want to look like freaks. You have to find the doctor who doesn't believe that way. Um, so so finding those doctors is very difficult. Finding doctors who want to create natural looking noses because they respect their patients, and those are very, very hard to find, especially in the big cities like Los Angeles and Miami and New York. So I'm really sorry this has happened to you. It happened to me. I've been dealing with it for 13 years plus, and I think about it every day. It bothers me every day. The physical problems of it, the breathing, ointments and salves I need, um, like saline solution to keep my nose from being dry, um, all sorts of Aquaphor, AYR, gel, honey. I've used all sorts of things to help my nose heal. The many surgeries I've gone through, Vivair and some scar tissue revision, and major revisions to has a piece of ear that's in my nose now. And those surgeries all took a lot out of me. There were months of healing time, um, and then all of the years of being insecure about the way that your face has changed. Is very difficult on you socially, and you have this sort of the secret that you live with, that you're have the secret problem and you're not 100% healthy. It's not something that's easy to live with when you're dating. Um, you know, I managed to date anyway, even though it probably end up giving me a lot of problems. Um, but you can keep pushing. It wasn't the end of my life, even though I'm single and 40. It didn't end things completely. Um, you can eventually learn to get used to your new face. You can see through other people's insecurity because because you're not wearing your own face. So, so other people's insecurities become very obvious. You have sort of an X-ray vision into other people's insecurities. When you look at people, you're not looking at them with your own face. You're looking at them with a face that was created and attached to you. So you get an insight about the world that probably no one gets who's under 65 or 70 years old. Um, you kind of prematurely ages you, but it's also sort of a really insightful thing to learn. So the biggest thing is that you have this issue that you can't really talk about. It's very difficult to talk about with most people. Um, so talk about it with people. That's the main thing that I want to emphasize, is to definitely talk about it with people and find people who, if you can, who are in a similar situation. That really helps. And to get used to going out. Don't let it stop you. Keep facing people. You might have to change a lot because you might be used to carrying yourself a certain way, and now you have to carry yourself a different way because people look at you a different way. Just figure it out. Figure out how to learn how to be the new you. It might not be a horrible thing. The new you can still be you. Maybe it's not exactly the same. Maybe you don't feel as powerful, but there's still a version of you that can exist in the world. And you can still be successful. You might not feel like it's you being successful, but it is still you. You're the way you look is something that might have been really important to you, but it has to become less important to you, and you will figure that out. You might have to go through some struggle, but you will figure that out. And I'm making this video because I want you to know what it's like from somebody who went through this, somebody who's been going through this for over a decade, and it's still difficult, but it's possible, and maybe your experience will be better than mine. Maybe you'll recover faster, and you'll find a really good doctor sooner. That's what I wish for you. But don't do anything stupid. Probably the worst things that I did were running out and getting some bad tattoos that I regret. Don't try not to do anything bad that's permanent. Don't pick up a really bad drug addiction. Don't do anything too self-harmful, because in a few years you'll regret that. So just try and keep it cool, and you can get through this. And the worst part about it is that other people are not going to understand, people who are not going through this, and it's an alien problem to the vast majority of the world. Maybe some people will understand it more someday. Maybe you can be one of the people to help the outside world understand what the rest of us are going through, what this problem really is, and what it's like to suddenly be wearing a face that is not yours, to be wearing, to go out in public with a face that was given to you by someone you consider an enemy now. And that's a really hard thing, but it is still your face. It is still your face, and it's not entirely created by some monster. What I hope for you most is that you talk about this with as many people as you can. Talk about it with your primary care physician. Talk about it online. Find communities, find people who have this situation. Don't go through it alone. Talk to everybody about your health. Get what you need. Be very honest and open about the problems that you might be having physically. Learn how to describe what you're feeling. Do research about the nose, about the internals of the nose. The more you research, the more power you have when you're coming to the table with these plastic surgeons. And it's really important to not be ashamed and not to feel shame, because it's the shame that lets these plastic surgeons continue to get away with doing this, because the vast majority of the people who have problems, who are not happy, are silent because of the shame. So don't be shameful. Get the help you need. Thank you.